All right, thanks for joining. For those that don't know, this is the Postgres AI evaluation kickoff, and open up the agenda here. The agenda is in the meeting invitation, and what we're doing here is going to spend the next 6 months with people in the GL database group evaluating Postgres AI Enterprise Edition. So we'll run through a quick overview from Nick, talk about what features are involved with the Enterprise Edition above and beyond what we get with JoBot, and talk about what we're looking for, how we want to measure success on this, how we want to report, review some of the common goals, and figure out where we want to record our feedback on this one. And then probably we can look at schedule a recurring time to talk about this or a wrap up time at the end, whatever works best for the group here. So with that, yeah, are there any questions before we jump in and let Nick kind of talk about what's involved with Postgres AI, how we get access, all those things?
Right. So I already configured the existing instance, changed several things, which works for Slack. I configured it for web version, web UI version, and CLI and so on. So I've put instructions here, and we prepared special list of like onboarding tasks, so I can create issue for everyone, a separate one with checkboxes, and just to simplify starting. And I can right now share my screen and walk through again, right, and show you main features. And if you just go to Postgres AI and use your Google account, if you go to Postgres AI and use Google account to sign in here, you will probably automatically join to GitLab organization. If not, it didn't work for Andreas. I will add you right. I finish this demonstration. I will add you manually, and you will be here. So basically, we have several important features here, which will allow you to, I hope, work more efficiently with performance and experimenting with new ideas such as partitioning. First, we have checkups here, and yesterday I generated new report. If you check, it's here. You may see the same, as usual, the same reports, but detailed, and we have JSON files here. So it's not limited with 50 lines of queries, but you can fetch JSON and if needed, and somehow like programmatically process it, right? Or you can just navigate here and see the same as usual, same reports as, for example, this one. We're approaching. We're fine, but in terms of integer 4 problem in events table, we have 35%. So it's like centralized storage for checkups. Next important thing, we have Joe here, and you can just start working with Joe, the same as in Slack. It will take like 15-20 seconds to start. Because instance is quite busy and people are working on in Slack and some heavy queries. But anyway, it's working well. I've tested it yesterday. Let's see. While it's starting, let me show you like every command you use, it will be recorded, and you see here history. So you can check various queries later, and you can see the same details as usual, but with permanent link and with 3 options to visualize. These visualization tools, I think you know them, and they are embedded here into the platform, so it's very like private installation. not public as as for explain depeche.com or explain.com. And you can use this link with this addition, and people will immediately see the same visualization. And right now we are thinking about how to share this information better. For example, we thinking about adding like settings for a specific page to make them public. So this is everything requires authentication using Google account, but optionally, if it's useful, we can add capability to make public, to share with everyone if needed, and also maybe to somehow with one click put details to comment in merge requests or something like this. So we are open to any suggestions here, and we can improve integration. But this kind of thing, it's like a knowledge base, and we can aggregate sessions are recorded, and you can see later all details. So it was started, and this session, it's exactly like in Slack, but in web UI, and we can check in database lab section. We have instance, it's the same instance, and we see web UI clone, it's here. So we can check how it took 48 seconds, so quite long, but it busy right now, disks are busy and so on. So we can do some we can do, like, for example, \d, see the list of tables as usual. We can do explain anything as usual, right? And this is private session, so you're alone here in this window. Nobody else is adding any comments here. And permalink is here always in the response. So you took it and you see it. Sorry for my English. I slept only several hours and wake up early today. Went to sleep very late yesterday. So messing up with words. Okay, this is it for Joe history, or also like plan visualization for ad hoc. If you need only to visualize something, these buttons will be here as well. This is not recorded yet. We're thinking about to make it to be recorded, and also no history yet, but we will add it soon. So no search. We will have search here because it's important, for example, to see what similar queries in the past, to see how it was done, what optimization ideas were done in the past. Right now, it's just like simple navigation here. And finally, probably the main feature for you is to be able to create a clone with full access. I'm not sure if all of you have full access to production database. Because if you have full access for production database, you can have full access here, and you can create clone and have separate Postgres almost 7 terabyte database and do whatever you want with it. So it's very easy. There are 3 options. First option is just we can create here. Let's say, it's username 1 and some password. So almost 7 terabytes, expected cloning time 24 seconds. You can check this checkbox to default behavior is if you don't do any activity on the clone, it will be automatically deleted after 2 hours of inactivity. But if you check this checkbox, it will live longer. The only concern here is if you leave it for many days, like 1 day is okay, 2 days is okay because we have 3 days of snapshots. But if you use it for longer than 3 days, roughly, it may lead to out of disk space problem. If you need it longer, tell me, we will add disk space, and it's okay as well. right? So just this thing should be still not permanent. And
hey Nick,
yes.
what's the current disk size now? So like if all of us jumped on and created our own clones, would we run out of space?
Yeah, we should go to different server because it's still the same server. Right now, disk space is 6.6 gigabytes, and database already exceeded it. But we have a good compression there, like 30%, minus 30% of actual size. So we have almost terabyte of free disk space. It's quite easy to increase actually. So if we need more, we can add more, definitely.
Thank you.
So you can always see it here, what's happening with free disk space. Just go to instances and inside this instance and see this data. So also, since it's quite new and upgrade to Postgres 11 happened recently, no snapshots here, just one single snapshot. This will be fixed, I think, today, and we will have hourly snapshots. So we will have a long list of snapshots. You will be able to choose different states of database. And for example, if you suspect some degradation of some particular query, you can provision 2 clones during a minute and compare, explain, plan for both. Like for example, if you know release happened like 1 p.m., provision 1 clone for 12 p.m. and one for 2 p.m. and compare them, right? So this is good feature which is not available in Slack to control performance regression for particular queries. And actually, as an idea, we could create a set of like most important queries which are most frequent or so, and have this like set of queries and execute them to check regression. This is like requires some coding, but it's quite easy also. Okay, I'm not going to check this checkbox. Let's create a clone and wait, I don't know, 30-40 seconds, sorry. And while it's being created, I will show you how you can configure CLI. I will, it will be included to onboarding, how to configure it. It will be included to onboarding issue. So you can have this CLI and work with clones, with snapshots, and like for example, we see this list of available clones, and for example, this is job. It means Slack, somebody working in Slack, and you can create. What happened here? Yeah, it's actually working, so we can try to connect to it, and we can create another instance. You can provide ID or you can like skip it. This time I skip. I don't provide ID. ID is like as a method to distinguish your clone from others, right? So let's wait here as well, 40 seconds. Meanwhile, I'm going to use this PSQL connection string to connect. But before I you cannot directly connect to the database because it's not available from outside. So you need to use SSH tunnel. I will also include it to instructions. So, and the main thing here, like you need to pay attention to port. For example, port number 5, let's use this port. By the way, this is ID, it was automatically generated because I didn't provide it. If you provide it, it will be used anyway. So port will be 6, it's always from 6,000 to 6,100. So I'm going to create a SSH tunnel, and now I can connect to localhost and this. So you need to provide SSH keys. I will put it there, and this is how we can connect, right? But again, you need to this should be done this should be under the same terms as access to production because it's production data. So if you have access to production, it's okay to, and we can set this up. So I'm going to connect. Okay, so that's it. This is database. We see it's full size. Oh, right, almost 7 terabyte. For example, let's drop table. I don't know, like issues. Cascade. Oh, Cascade will be long. Like let's drop some smaller table like abuse reports. Which drop table abuse reports. We do something. We don't see it anymore. And then when we go, this is a different instance. We go here. We can issue reset command using a CLI, of course, or we can use graphical interface. This is okay. This is our instance. Our clone. Let's reset. That's it. And I think we can. Oh, it's been reset also, like during 30 seconds, and then we will be able to connect again. Right? It's being reset still. Let's see. Yes, resetting. Again, okay, so after 30 seconds, we will connect and see that table is available again. So that's how you can iterate very quickly. You can do any, like you can, for example, implement some partitioning schema, check migration, check how we partition, reset it, check again, reset it, and so on, right? So, or you can do any, and you can verify all merge request changes, like any database changes, any migrations, and see actual effect on full size database, and before approval you can see the actual data, right? This is because you can use your GitLab local installation to connect to this instance. Okay, let's see. Table is here already, right? So 30 seconds and it's back. The same with any size of table. Any questions?
I have a couple, but first of all, that's very impressive. Really nice. I'm looking forward to using that. I wanted to ask if there was a chance that we could make this instance the database runs on basically at the same level as the production instances, because it would be useful to sort of get the same timings back. And currently, Database Labs, I think it's a much smaller instance. Is that something we could do?
I think yes, and we will have Prometheus exporter for major metrics in next few days. So we will be able to organize like alerts in case of something like this disk space problem is about to hurt us. So this is what I'm thinking right now, and we will have it soon. So just to have it like full-fledged maintenance, not just like in GitLab restore, right?
So this is currently an instance that still like follows the existing pattern in GitLab restore.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Can you just expand a little bit of sort of how that data is being protected, seeing your product is sort of integrated into that, and where are those boundaries? So how can you access data?
Right. Yeah. Right. Sure. We have it in documentation. We have page about describing the security model. So on the same machine as this database exists, there are two components installed. One is database lab component, and another is bot component. Both are running in Docker containers, and they are open source, and you can check the source code and so on. So they are exposing only locally two ports, and then there is Nginx with certificates, and we have port open to our and we have this port open to our we talk to this port, and so we talk to these both components. Actually, we are working in a more secure model. So this model is already quite secure, but we are working on switching from open ports to WebSockets soon. But this is what already, like security team already reviewed this and put approval already. So we are like, looks like we are fine, but still we think we will close ports, even protect even more. So right now, these ports are used to issue two types of meta commands. One is to provide list of clones, create clone, destroy clone. But if you see this output, we can, like, we never have, if you check the list of, like, this is right now I'm issuing from my local computer to the same, like the same as platform is able to do, right? And you see here that we even don't know database name. It's because we this is also like security concern. We don't know what kind of databases are inside because we don't deal with data at all. So you should remember database name, GitLab HQ production yourself. And so we can destroy clone, we can create clone, but we cannot connect from outside to and see the data at all. For that, you need a SSH key and or GPG key and connect using tunnel, right? Or go and connect locally. It's up to you, or for some another machine in GitLab infrastructure. And the same with Jobot. Right now, it's like these ports, actually, this is not true. They are actually, there is only one port 443 HTTPS protected with certificates. And the same with Joe, Slack, both Slack and Web UI in platform, they talk to this port and issue commands like in Slack, let's start session, please analyze this query, what is the plan for this query, and that's it. So only meta commands. We know that it's possible to learn particular values in database if you do some tricks. For example, if you do trick with limit and put right, but this is first of all, you still need to be authorized for this. You need to connect and provide your security codes. Right. Next, it will be recorded. We have audit log, and later someone can explore it. But so still, no one except like you can do this anyway. And it's not possible to use this to download like whole database or like to do some massive stealing anyway. So this is like the only concern about data that can be used, but it's already there for Slack for. Before we started doing it, it's the same for ChatOps tool as well, right? So you can learn particular value, and also I don't know how, like, to learn string value. It's very hard. You need to analyze it like byte after byte. It will be noticeable. But by the way, I'm going to create automatic detection of such attempts to learn like data, like suspicious attempts. So I think right now it's fine. We like should not be concerned. But this is how it works. Outside, we cannot talk to database at all. We cannot download anything or something like this.
Awesome. Okay. Sounds very good. Thank you for explaining.
Sure. Can I ask a question also? So I'm using Bastion in order to connect to production. So, and I can see that you are using a username and a password. Will this work for me?
I'm not sure because it's different. It's GitLab Restore project, right? Andreas, maybe you know, is it possible to connect, or we need to like move instance to production project first?
So we will need also a username and a password for production in order to be able to use that.
I doubt it's not about password, it's about keys, right? So
I think currently if the instance lives in GitLab Restore, you want to have like what's that called, OS login for that GCP project.
Right. Which didn't work. Which
not everybody has, or at least or only a couple of people have. No?
Right. So we need to figure out how to put keys there, right? To have access. Okay. Okay, so let's start with Andreas. Then when I will proceed to you, Yanis. Like let's solve this problem today and tomorrow, and have access using. I don't think we need to use SSH keys because it's considered like less strict, right? So we should use GPG keys or OS login. Two options, right? What do you think, Andreas? Right.
I think
So,
OS login is also based on SSH keys, isn't it?
But they are like temporary, I suppose, or
depends on how that is configured. I think both works still. Let's look into that.
okay. And how many of you will require like how many of you have this access to production data already, like using this Bastion? Everyone, or how is it working right now?
I would think everybody has access to the pSQL console that goes through the Bastion and then goes to the console host. All
That's
that.
it.
But
yeah.
that's different from access to the Restore project, right?
Yes, it differs, but logically it means that everyone from you
right.
can work with all of the data. So we should solve this access question for everyone, right?
Right.
Good. So that's it with my demo. I should sleep more, definitely. Sorry again. It's like, yeah.
No worries.
Okay.
I think Mara also had a question.
Yeah, I do have like an extra question. On Ask Joe, that part of the application, if I start like playing around and creating indexes or tables, will those be visible for other people using the Ask Joe, like the same that happens on Slack?
No, in Slack we work separately, but in a single channel, so we see each other actions. But still, we work with independent clones, right? So any changes we do, it's only for our session. Even still, it's in public channel, and everybody sees what other person. For example, if I create table, other people see that I created it, but they cannot work with it because everyone has own clone, independent fully, right? Here it's even more like we're completely alone. It's not public channel. It's like our own chat window and independent clones again. If you go to like using SSH or GPG keys, if you go and connect directly with pSQL or some other Postgres client, again, also it will be dependent clone. So always independent clones. Actually, there is a feature request to be able to work together, like 2 persons, 3 persons on the same clone, like to troubleshoot and to do some pair coding or something. And this is not yet implemented. So always independent clones. Well, if you work at DBLab level without Joe, you can connect to single clone together just using the same. If you know password, by the way, you define password. So we always create user. It's super user with all access, and you define password. This is also about security. So please define better passwords when you do this. And these passwords are used only in one instance, and that's it. So do it wisely. And so if you create a clone, you can share credentials with someone else and work together on the same clone if needed for pair sessions or something. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, it looks like Adam had the next question.
Yeah, about APIs, because you mentioned that you know we might iterate and update stuff, and I would like to sometimes share the results, what I did with someone else, so they can replicate basically the structure.
So you want API, right?
Yeah, like hey, this is the commands I'm executing, and this is what I'm getting back.
Right. So for programmatical, in documentation we have 2 pages. One is CLI. Maybe you will prefer this, so like to use just CLI, and this is what I already showed, and to like create clone and everything. Actions will be done using regular Postgres connection. So you can use Ruby code or P-SQL code, you just need to connect. You need to establish SSH tunnel, and then connect to proper clone. The trick here is to use, you may use, here I used like remote port is this, and I used the local port, the same port, but you can use 777 always, and this will change, different clone, different port, but this port will be always the same, so just to avoid editing configuration, right? So you need just to fix it, like to set up different channel, such tunnel, and then you can continue working with the same configuration. As for API, if you don't like CLI, there is API, you can see Swagger here. So CLI uses API, of course. And this, like, we have a pretty basic REST API. You can see instance clone commands and clone commands here. And also the status. So that's it, actually. Everything is in documentation already.
And can I send a SQL statement to the API and get back a plan?
No. To work on Postgres level, like API is used only to create, destroy, refresh clones, list the existing clones, and so on. Like SQL should be done either using Jo or using PSQL, right? So if you want to reproduce steps, you connect to PSQL and do, like, it's like normal database. You can even use whole GitLab on this database. It will be slow because its network is involved, but you can try to use whole GitLab application working with this production database and test something, right? Or check migration. But if you want to issue scale commands and be recorded in history, this is different. This is not possible right now because job API is not available yet. I remember this discussion. We can implement it if it's needed, and like I feel it's needed. So like to be able to run SQL commands programmatically and then to have them in history with visualization. So probably we should implement it, right? But this is not what available right now.
Cool, thanks. And one more thing. So you said I would have to connect to PSQL. So theoretically, I could use the connection string in my Rails application and test, let's say, on each batch query, right, to run each iteration and catch something that times out.
You can connect using these Postgres connection credentials. You can connect using any client or Ruby Postgres library, so anything.
So we could basically configure the local GDK to talk to the production database. That's very cool. I was wondering, like, do we have any concerns doing that? Do we have to sort of?
It's if SSH tunnel is involved, it's quite secure.
Yeah, no, I'm not wondering about security in that sense, but rather like we would be kicking up the full application in the development mode on the production database. Just thinking about like things like, do we send emails or?
Yeah, emails. It still sometimes feels in GitLab restores. Sometimes feels dangerous. We discussed it already, and like Bootstrap script is configured as starting script, and if machine is rebooted, it's not. I'm not 100% sure that GitLab CTL stop is performed, right? So it's there is also a problem. I always do GitLab CTL stop when I deal with database. So sending emails is definitely not, or fetching, like performing synchronization with GitHub repositories or something like this, also not a good idea. So this is a little bit gray area, and of course special attention should be paid. Let's think how to protect if we start using this. Right. So PSQL is definitely a safe way because it will not send emails or perform synchronization, but whole GitLab application with Redis sidekick working may lead to some side effects which we don't want at all. So this is a good question.
Yeah. The important part is that we will be able to run migrations. So I won't have to copy paste. So if we have a complicated migration, like for example, what Patrick is building for doing partitioning, which is way more involved than just copy pasting a couple of queries, we will be able to do that locally.
Exactly, and we have a recipe. We have recipe prepared already how to collect useful information about behavior of migration. Like it's about out of scope of this call, but I will show you, and we have it. I will send all details. You will be able to analyze how many wall data generated, how many it will automatically help you to detect dangerous exclusive logs which last more than a few seconds. So it's just like, this is already a step towards having this maybe in CI and automatically check all migrations. But right now we can start manually, at least check them manually with less efforts, right? And we are also discussing to provide like better report. We have already some report, but we may have even better analyzing all queries that happen during migration and presenting it like small checkup, right? Like small overview of workload that was applied during migration. This is very like, we're already very close to this target and have it and have better control over migrations, right? Okay.
All right, are there any other questions for Nick?
Oh, still not working. Andreas, you told that still not working. Why? If you refresh the page, don't you see I see you in members. So.
Yeah, perhaps I'm just doing the wrong thing, but signing in and then using my Google account still gives me the close beta information.
I know what happened. Okay, sorry. We will fix it in in a few minutes after our call. Because right, it's flag activation flag. I forgot. This was my decision. Like, okay, sorry.
No worries. Thanks.
We will fix
beta sign too.
Yeah, let's just please everyone sign in, because I need the account already existing, and then I will activate and add to organization like very soon.
Cool.
What about the folks that are going to watch this asynchronously? Like, we have some APAC folks that aren't going to be able to see this till tonight. Will you be able to add them beforehand? Or will it have to be, they'll have to sign in and you'll...
We will implement a simple rule to to be activated automatically during the next couple of hours, just to be able, like, this is a problem with my recent decisions. Okay. Yeah. Like because before PGCon talk, because I also mentioned it there, I wanted to have better control over users. Like we are doing demos and to allow them learn before being there, because it's not straightforward, right? So that you have separate clones and so on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Implemented rigid security. That's a good thing. Okay, so while we're going through this evaluation, so as I mentioned earlier, we have an agreement with Postgres AI and Nick for a 6-month license for folks that are on this GL database members. There's 12 of us. So while we're going through this evaluation, and I don't really have a specific way we want to evaluate, but we need to determine the return on investment on this. Does it make sense for us to continue beyond the 6 months? Individual licenses aren't super expensive, so I can imagine we can find ways that this saves us more time than it actually costs us. So how do we want to record like the pros and cons of this tool? Do we want to do it in the individual issue that I've already created that's linked at the top and kind of do it the way we do database maintainership? You know, this is what I use Postgres AI for. This is what worked. This is how much time it saved. These are the features I like, and even give Nick feedback. Or do we want to create a separate issue specifically for this? Would y'all prefer a document? Any thoughts on how we want to record?
Well, if it's question to me, any method is okay to me.
I'm just throwing out to the general group.
Yeah, by the way, one step back, I can create issues for everyone, like onboarding issues, to simplify starting. In which repository, in which project should I do this? Like where
Probably the database team one. Do you have access to that?
I hope I'm Andreas.
Oh yeah,
recently,
you're a member, I think.
he returned me to this list, so I should have access. Okay, so I will just create issue for everyone, all 12 people, and with names and so on. Okay. So back to your question again, I don't have preference where to record findings. It's more questions to you, I think.
Any thoughts from the audience?
I think that the issues are the single source of truth. It's better than a document.
Okay. So unless it proves to be troublesome, we'll just use the issue linked above. And then we'll link it back to the bottom here.
I've asked to activate all users with GitLab.com, so it should work right now. They say they did it.
And it does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't see organization, it will be also fixed in next minute. So it should work soon.
I have a question regarding the sort of evaluation. Do we compare this to what we can do today, including database labs? Because I think this is a sort of an evolution of database labs, right? And in the end, we would be using Postgres AI in the long run. So should we compare it to database labs or to what we can do without database labs?
Good question. So yeah, you already tried it once, and if you again, I don't have a big preference. I'm interested in both approaches. Like, of course, I'm very interested to hear that this methodology in general works for you and better than compared to absence of it. And also, if you can compare just that what you used before and with compared to this with graphical interface and like history and joy and so on, it's also interesting. So, but for decision, it's I think Craig should comment about this decision making. It's not on my side here, right?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I think both make sense, but if we're going to continue with database labs even after this, then that's probably the most valuable comparison, right? Because we're paying for above and beyond features here.
Right, and please pay attention to history and because I feel this has very great potential. History of Joe sessions, because we can accumulate knowledge base about SQL optimization, right? We can see a lot of stuff from the past. So once search will be available soon, it will be a very powerful tool to analyze what we had. Right now, by the way, sometimes we have more than 100 commands issued to Joe per day. So if definitely search is needed, but if you have some case to check what happened with similar queries in the past, it should be useful, and also visualization is already there, so convenient, right? So consider both. I would say not only database lab, but also Joe, and also actually check up, because I can, by the way, I can add some older reports with all JSON files, I have something already accumulated, and it may be helpful to analyze trends, right, of growth of every table. These reports have all tables, all 600 something tables, right? Not only top 50, as you can see in Markdown version. And this is very useful and a lot of data.
How far can we go back with those? That would be really interesting to have.
I don't remember. Let me quickly check what I have. Unfortunately, we didn't do it in that automated implementation, and I have. No, 1 second. Starting from September last year, so not far. Actually, not far. Not that far.
Well, it's still useful. I think the Prometheus stuff, it doesn't go back as much. So
Yeah. With HOSA, we had this problem. It's very difficult to go further than 3 months.
Cool. Perhaps we can follow up later on that one.
I have to leave here in a minute, and we are coming up on time. So is there anything else we want to cover in this meeting? Any other outstanding questions? And you all can carry on, but I have to go feed my kids. All right. I will leave. I will try not to end the meeting if you all want to carry on. Nick, I put a link to the bottom of the doc, the agenda, where you can add the onboarding templates. And if you don't have access, just let me know. I will add. One of us can add you later.
Okay. And I'm going to create issues right now for everyone. And if I'm adding also comments to this document about access issues that we need to activate manually.
And I will post a link to this recording in this doc later on today. So thanks. I got to jump.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Please reach me if any questions you have any questions. Bye bye. Have a good day.